So what I remember next is being at my grandpa's trailer, and I was probably 2.5 years old. He was close to 60. I went to kindergarten a few years later when he passed, and so that I think he passed at 63, 64. Um, so he's around 60. Anyway, he was in bad shape. He was in a chair most of the time. There was a tank next to his chair where he would take oxygen and smoke at the same time. Um, just kind of very feeble. Um, didn't really leave his chair much. Got his kids to do most everything for him, bringing, you know, dinner or grabbing this or grabbing that, what have you. But that's just the consequences of working in a factory your whole life. I mean, he worked in an auto manufacturing plant for years. He probably did a lot of drugs, drank a lot. Um, he certainly didn't have anything to show for his money. The condition of that trailer was horrible. The outside was just like missing panels in places on the trailer skirt, and it was rusted out, and there's this dingy green stripe that went down the center of it that had never been cleaned, I think. But anyway, I remember being in the living room, and he's sitting in the chair watching TV, and I'm looking around at all the trash in that place. There's bags of trash just sitting around, clothes, heaps of dirty clothes sitting on the sofas, and like stacks of newspaper just for no freaking reason. And like in the kitchen there was, dishes piled up on the table with a bunch of other things, whatever they would throw on the table at the time instead of putting it away where it should be. But the place was just a mess. Oh, and that carpet, it was this thin trailer carpet that was all torn up and ragged and like lumpy in places, so bad you'd trip over it. But anyway, so he's sitting in his chair. Chair was next to a TV, a floor console, a huge floor console. And most of the time he would watch TV, the three channels that they had back then, I think. Um, and so if he wanted anyone to, if he wanted to watch a different channel, he'd have my uncle come over and turn the channel. Or if he needed the volume up, he'd come, or he'd ask, my mom to come in and turn the volume up. And so he's sitting in his chair. He's got a stand next to his chair, and it has an ashtray, his inhaler, his keys, his wallet, and various other things. And that was my favorite thing to try to get. Anything off that little stand was a treasure to me. And so, of course, he didn't like that. That was his stuff. And plus, there's no reason a kid should be grabbing a pack of cigarettes, or a lighter or anything like that. So whenever I'd get close to it, he'd grab my wrist and he'd hold on. And it would drive me up a wall. I'd fall down on the floor and kick and scream and pull, and he'd just hold on. And I'd fight and fight and fight and tell him to stop, and he'd just hold on. He's like, calm down. And I'd fight and fight and fight. And he'd say it again, calm down. And then finally, I'd be sobbing, and I'd calm down, and he'd look at me and he'd say, are you done yet? And I'd say, yeah. Because I, was calm, and that's all he wanted. But as soon as I was, he'd let me go, and I'd run off and do my thing. And then when he wasn't looking, I'd try to get back in his on his stand again. So this was a game. He won 9 times out of 10, and I had to really get smart about it because I wanted all that stuff, anything I could get off that table. I wanted it so bad, And so the one time that I remember a few days later was I was sitting on the couch. He was watching TV, and I'd learned that if I gave him enough time to watch the TV, like he'd get into it, and he'd absolutely forget, I was in the room. And so I just waited. I waited on that sofa. I was playing with my Hot Wheels or whatever, and I just felt him out. I was watching to see when he would be engrossed in that show, and I kind of got the the hunch that he was into it, and I crept over to that stand. It was stealth. And when I got closer and closer, I'd slow down until I was just next to nothing. Was moving extremely slow where he wouldn't catch me. And then finally I reached out and grabbed that pack of cigarettes and ran for the life of me. He caught me out of the corner of his eye and he said, Marge. That's my mom's name, Margaret. Everybody called her Marge. Marge, get that boy. And so, of course, she came out of the back room. Brian, what are you doing? I told you to stay off his stand. And she tracked me down and got the cigarettes from me or what have you. But yeah, it turned into a game for sure. It was me against him, and that day I won.